Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's David and I'm a recovering drug addict, and for over a decade I lost my life to active addiction. And since being in recovery I've managed to completely rebuild myself and rebuild my life from the ground up, following a few sort of key principles. And today I wanted to talk about self-mastery. So what do I mean by self-mastery? Essentially, to me, it is an aspiration, and it's an ideal. You know, it's something to aim towards. You know, it's a way of life, and it doesn't mean that we are perfect all the time, but it means that we strive towards a higher aspiration for ourselves. You know, and to sort of master oneself. So for me, it's about cultivating more awareness. It's about overcoming limitations, cultivating your energy, and being able to direct that energy intentionally into something, and to essentially become the author of your own destiny. So I've come up with this framework called the 6 pillars of self-mastery. And today I just wanted to run through it briefly to give you an overview of each section and a little bit about what that entails as well. So number 1 is awareness. So this is massive. This is where everything begins. So awareness is the ability to reflect and look at yourself and to become more aware of your patterns, your beliefs, your limitations, your wounds, all these things that would otherwise play out in your life unconsciously. So we have to start with awareness, because if we're not aware of something, then we can't change it. So we have to look at our destructive patterns and our limiting beliefs. And some of the questions you can ask, are what beliefs and patterns are holding you back? What are your limitations? What vices do you need to quit? What are your biggest fears and insecurities? And also, what are your assets and talents? It's also important to acknowledge the positives there as well. So some habits or practices that you can begin to get into on this level are doing a personal inventory. So really taking stock of your life, where you're at in your life, and where you're at in your patterns, like I said, your fears, your insecurities, your assets. It's also about meditation and journaling, doing the introspection, getting to know yourself. And there's no shortcut to this step, it really is just a matter of time, and effort. So to end on that, awareness is the light that reveals the pattern. So number 1, we need awareness. Number 2 is discipline. So once you see the patterns in your life, you need discipline to begin to interrupt those patterns. So it's not to punish yourself, it's a form of self-respect. So for me, discipline is about becoming really clear and intentional, quitting the things that weaken you and building the things that strengthen you. So here we're looking at your routines, your habits, your health, your training, your nutrition, your sleep, having a structure for your life, and basically taking responsibility. So having integrity, showing up every day, keeping promises to yourself. And this is where self-mastery isn't about being perfect, because we can't be perfect 100% of the time. But that's why it's an aspiration. We aspire to cultivate our lives in all these different areas, and we aspire to move towards more discipline, more integration, and basically moving towards overcoming these things that are holding you back, certain vices, certain routines, and building a better structure for your life. So discipline creates the foundation for freedom. A lot of the time people think freedom is to be able to do whatever you like, But in my experience as a recovering drug addict, you know, that freedom just creates a prison, you know, and we become a slave to our lower nature. So for me, real freedom is born out of discipline and structure. So number 3 is cultivation. So this is about cultivating your energy and your life force. So it's not just about having discipline externally, it's about building your internal vitality and your energy. So it's about being able to regulate your nervous system. It's about being mindful of your health and your vitality. It's about harnessing your sexual energy and your creative potential and using that in the right way. And basically it's about expanding your capacity and your container to hold more life and more energy. So as human beings, we're not only just physical beings, we have this whole energetic structure to ourselves as well. So learning to understand this and learning how to work with the energy on that level is very important and has been a very powerful tool for me. And I'll do more videos on this in the future about the anatomy of the subtle body and how to work with the energy. But essentially you want to be using practices like breath work, yoga, qigong, semen retention, conscious sexuality. So all of these things basically build your vitality and cultivate energy. Things like exercise, nutrition, recovery, nervous system regulation, being out in nature, getting sunlight, grounding, all those kinds of things basically protect your vitality, you know, and make you healthy and make you more radiant as a person. So the reason we do this is to basically cultivate that creative life force, expand your capacity, and then become more magnetic, you know, energetically. And by doing that, we're able to bring more life, more energy into our lives. So you cannot create a powerful life without this energy. If you're depleted, you cannot create a powerful, vital life. So number 4 is attention. So once you've cultivated your energy, you need to be able to consciously direct that energy in the right way. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. So if your attention is scattered and you're distracted, things like social media, lust, fear, comparison, you know, propaganda, politics, drama, gossip, all that kind of stuff, your energy basically just becomes very fragmented, and you just get pulled off in all kinds of directions. So learning to cultivate your attention is to be able to direct your energies in a very pointed and single pointed and focused way. So we're cultivating all this energy, then we have to be able to learn to direct that energy. So some questions you can ask here are, where is your life force and attention being drained from you? What is the biggest distraction stopping you from taking action? What habits or behaviors could you cut out to direct your energy in a more productive way? And what areas of your life require your attention? So what do you want to build or develop? So at this level, we're learning to be able to consciously direct these energies. And your attention is your most valuable spiritual currency. You know, wherever you direct your attention is where you're going to direct your energy, and whatever you focus on is what's going to grow. You know, so if you're focused on negativity, that's what you're going to call into your life. If you're focused on growth, then that's where you're going to go in life. So number 5 is intention. So now we've cultivated energy, we've cultivated our attention to direct that energy. Now we have to have the intention to put that energy into something. So this is where you get really clear on what you want and a plan on how to get there. So we have to be very intentional about our lives. So the questions: who are you becoming? What kind of life are you building? What kind of values do you want to live by? What are you no longer available for? What's no longer serving you? And what is the vision for your life moving forwards? So without attention, discipline can be rigid, you know. So this intention gives meaning to our journey, because it means we're actually now building something meaningful. So it's about finding your purpose, visualizing your dream life, getting clear on your vision, getting clear on your values, starting to plan, and then putting in some action into that plan and building something meaningful. So your intention is how you begin to consciously participate in your own destiny. And finally, the final phase is integration. So this is where self-mastery becomes embodied. So it's not so much about striving or perfection or performance. It's about finding that balance, finding that rhythm, finding that embodiment. And basically it's where the work stops becoming what you do and starts becoming who you are. So you start to integrate all of this knowledge. You start to integrate all of these disciplines, all of these habits and these practices that work for you. You start to integrate all these areas of your life, your sense of purpose, your health, your vitality, your spirituality, your sense of community, your sense of what you're building and your work and your career. You know, and you start to build a foundation and build a picture of how this all fits together into a coherent life. So it's about becoming more grounded, becoming more present, being more effective. So it's not just sticking to routines. It's not just, you know, ideas and concepts. You know, this is a lifestyle, and it becomes who you are. So that's the final phase, is integration. And you know, you can be working on all of these pillars at any one time. But integration is kind of that final point where it all starts to become very effortless, you know, but it takes time to get there. So just to recap there, so self-mastery isn't about controlling every part of your life. It's about learning to become conscious, responsible, disciplined, energized, focused, intentional, and integrated. So it's about learning to stop living unconsciously, and it's about starting to build yourself in your life from within. So with that being said, I hope that video was insightful for you. More videos to come on this topic, so appreciate your time for listening and watching. Please make sure to give me a like and a follow, leave a comment, and subscribe for more if you're interested, and appreciate your time. Thank you.